From Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Saamiyah Syed. Our top story tonight: the Colorado branch of the American Civil Liberties Union has filed a lawsuit against authorities for spying on a local activist's private communications. The group is suing the city of Colorado Springs, 4 members of the Colorado Springs Police Department, and the FBI. The plaintiff in the lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court in Colorado is activist Jacqueline Amarandérez Unzueta. She was arrested in 2021 on a minor misdemeanor charge during a demonstration for housing rights. Police reportedly arrested leaders during the march and confiscated and searched Unzueta's equipment. The lawsuit also alleges FBI officials unlawfully seized, searched, and copied her devices. Additionally, it claims the police department has targeted activists in the area for several years. It says they use tactics such as infiltration, surveillance, and dragnet searches to seize personal devices and digital data without justification. Former President Donald Trump appeared in federal court Thursday in Washington, D.C. to face charges that he conspired to stay in office despite his 2020 election defeat. Trump has pleaded not guilty to all 4 charges. These include obstruction to an official proceeding, fraud on the U.S., and conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Trump was allowed to leave court without posting bail or accepting travel restrictions. A preliminary court hearing is set for August 28th. Trump's lawyers have signaled they intend to fight the charges. They argue the ex-president exercised his First Amendment rights and believe the election was stolen. Republican lawmakers in the U.S. House have introduced a number of amendments to spending bills, which critics say limit funding to fight extremism, misinformation, and attacks on voting rights. The Clean Budget Coalition, which is made up of nearly over 200 advocacy groups, says these amendments are aimed at limiting the government's ability to fund such investigations. The group also stresses that the changes promote right-wing extremism, violence, disinformation, and conspiracy theories, while undermining fair elections, democracy, and the rule of law. The coalition has been following the drafting of appropriations bills by Republican lawmakers. It also notes that Republicans signed the amendment clauses a day after President Donald Trump was indicted by a federal court. This was in connection with the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, which has been linked to extremism and misinformation. Young Black Democrats Justin Jones and Justin Pearson won special elections to retain their seats in Tennessee. They had been expelled from the House in April for leading a protest against gun ownership. Jones defeated Republican opponent Laura Nelson in the predominantly Democratic District 52 in the Nashville area. Pearson defeated independent Jeff Johnston in Deep Blue Democratic District 86 in Memphis. Both Jones and Pearson were temporarily reinstated by local officials within a week of their expulsion. They needed to win Thursday's special election to keep their seats for the remainder of their 2-year terms. The Republican supermajority cited breaches of decorum after the deputies led a protest against gun ownership from the House floor. They were protesting the shooting at a Nashville school that left 3 children and 3 adults dead. Their protests alongside Democratic Representative Gloria Johnson led them being named the Tennessee Three. Johnson, a white woman, faced a vote on her expulsion but was not removed. Her expulsion in April became a flashpoint in debates over gun violence, race, and what forms of protest are acceptable. Former Yemeni detainee Mansour Adaifi says inmates at the U.S. Guantanamo Bay Detention Center in Cuba were frequently subjected to physical and psychological torture. He spent 15 years there due to mistaken identity. He told Turkey's Anadolu news agency that the CIA used unreliable information from local informants to bring people from different countries to Guantanamo. The facility held about 800 detainees, some of whom were over 100 years old. Adafi says Guantanamo was used to circumvent legal restrictions in addition to being used as a military laboratory to experiment on prisoners. He says guards provoked detainees with insults and disrespect for Islam and its values. Prisoners were tortured and many died during interrogations without guards being held accountable, he claims. Detainees' physical and mental health deteriorated due to systematic torture throughout the day, he says. Guantanamo Bay Prison was established after the September 11, 2001 attacks as part of the global fight against terrorism. The Council on American Islamic Relations has urged Florida authorities to ban Prageru for anti-Muslim content. Florida recently approved Prageru, an uncredited nonprofit, and its newly launched Prageru Kids content for teaching in public schools. Prageru has been criticized for espousing anti-immigrant theories, downplaying systemic racism, and promoting other right-wing ideas. CAIR has called on the Florida Department of Education to clarify and repudiate any relationship between the Islamophobic Prageru and Florida schools. It cites a fact sheet released by the Georgetown University Bridge Initiative in 2020, listing a number of Prageru videos that promote Islamophobic tropes. A spokeswoman for the Florida Department of Education said Prageru kids videos had been reviewed by the agency. She said their content is consistent with state education standards for civics and government education. According to the Prageru website, the group's videos are viewed on an average 4 million times a day. Most viewers are under 35 years old. The United Nations is warning that hunger and displacement in Sudan is spiraling out of control. The Northeast African nation is embroiled in a civil war between the army and the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. The UN aid agency reports that more than 6 million people in Sudan, about 13% of their population, are now one step from famine. More than 20 million people are facing high levels of acute food insecurity due to the conflict, economic decline, and mass displacement. Fighting since April has killed 3,000 civilians and injured thousands more. Several ceasefire agreements brokered by Saudi Arabian and American mediators have failed. Bangladesh is criticizing the US and Canada for not deporting two self-proclaimed killers of Bangladesh's founding leader. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Sehli Sabrin said the Western governments were not returning the killers of Bangla Babu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman due to a lack of political will. Rahman and most of his family members were assassinated on August 15, 1975 by army personnel. 5 of the 12 convicts in the assassination were executed on January 27, 2010, a year after the Awami League-led alliance regained power. 2 convicts, Noor Chaudhry and Rashid Chaudhry, are believed to be living in Canada and the US, respectively. The whereabouts of others are unknown. Canadian law restricts sending back convicts primarily to countries where death sentences are carried out. More on how landmines continue to claim the lives of children in Yemen comes with details after the break. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Mines and unexploded ordnance continue to pose a serious threat to children in Yemen despite international efforts to clear them. In 2002, a child was killed or wounded by mines and unexploded ordnance in Yemen roughly every 2 days. Yemen's Executive Mine Action Center reported 6 mine explosions in Al Hudaydah killed 8 people in June. This is one of the most heavily mined areas in Yemen. According to the Saudi Landmine Action Project, over 400,000 explosive devices have been destroyed since mid-2018. Children are exposed to the deadly remnants of war in their daily activities and often suffer physical and psychological injuries. In Yemen, where the health system has collapsed, children injured by mines and unexploded ordnance don't have access to long-term medical care. International efforts to address these threats are underway, but progress has been slow. A 71-year-old Uyghur man serving a 14-year sentence for his religious practices has died in a prison in China's northwest Xinjiang province. According to reports, Abdul Rasul Mehmet was arrested in 2017 for studying the Quran, praying, and sporting a beard. Chinese authorities justified his religious leanings as illegal religious activities. His situation came to light through the Xinjiang Victims Database, which collects records of detained Uyghurs and other Turkic minorities in Xinjiang. A police official in Kashgar County confirmed Mehmet's death from hypertension in mid-July. Mehmet's name and police record was found in Kashgar police archives, which are part of the Xinjiang police files leaked and published in May 2022. These files document the Chinese government's internment of up to 2 million Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples in Xinjiang in 2017 and 2018. Moroccan player Nouhaila Benzina made history last Sunday, becoming the first female football player to wear a hijab at a FIFA World Cup match. The appearance has inspired Muslim women and girls playing grassroots soccer in the United Kingdom. Sports officials say the Football Association has made efforts to make women's football more inclusive. There are now a growing number of clubs accommodating the needs of Muslim players. Benzina's appearance is a positive step in breaking down barriers for Muslim women in football. Although India launched its Green Revolution more than 5 decades ago, the fight against hunger is ongoing. According to Kudat Prabhakaran Nair, a former professor and Indian agricultural scientist, many poor people still do not have enough to eat. Nair wrote in India's Deccan Herald newspaper that net food availability per capita has increased only slightly over the years. India's ranking on the World Hunger Index has worsened, indicating a significant portion of the population still suffers from hunger. Although India has experienced economic growth and a decline in poverty in recent decades, malnutrition remains a persistent problem. India is home to the largest number of undernourished people in the world. Nair said one of the main reasons for the persistence of child malnutrition is the high rate of poverty in rural areas, especially in poorer states. Agricultural households account for 50% of extreme poverty in India. Nair says governments have failed to improve terms of trade between agricultural producers and consumers and to invest adequately in the agricultural sector. He said parliamentarians from around the world are coming together to form a multilateral body to push for reforms in the agriculture and food system. In related news, India ranks 107th out of 121 countries in the World Hunger Index. The peer-reviewed annual report is jointly published by Wealth, Hunger, Life, and Concern Worldwide. It says India has deteriorated from its previous rankings of 101 and 94. India's hunger index score is 29.1, putting it in the severe category. Crisis-affected countries such as Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Nepal scored better than India. The hunger index takes into account several indicators, including malnutrition, child emancipation, stunting, and infant mortality. Top-performing countries include Bosnia and Herzegovina, China, Kuwait, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Serbia, Turkey, and Uruguay. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.